A warning before we begin. This episode covers real allegations, a real federal case, and disturbing subject matter. Everything in it is based on public reporting and court records. Allegations are allegations, and as you'll see, a jury rejected the most serious charges. Nothing here has been invented. Viewer discretion is advised. He was one of the most powerful men in the history of music. A mogul. A billionaire, supposedly. The man who threw the parties everyone wanted an invitation to. And then, on a spring morning in 2024, federal agents surrounded his mansions and went through the doors. What they carried out would turn the biggest name in hip-hop into a federal defendant. And turn the internet into a courtroom of its own. Red Room Tapes. Episode 2. The tape that ended an empire. Today, we're going over what really happened in the Diddy files. And trust me, it only gets darker from here. To understand the fall, you have to understand the empire. For 30 years, Sean Combs wasn't just a rapper. He was the machine behind the music. He launched careers. He built a record label into an institution. He sold a liquor brand for a fortune. He was, by almost every measure, untouchable. And that word untouchable is exactly where this story turns. November 2023. His former partner, the singer Cassie Ventura, files a lawsuit. In it, she accuses Combs of years of abuse, control, violence, rape, and what she described as coerced sex performances. The allegations are graphic and devastating. Combs denies all of it. And then something strange happens. Less than 24 hours later, the case is settled. Quietly. For an amount we would only learn later, Ventura testified it was $20 million. To his supporters, a man making a problem go away. To his critics, the sound of a dam beginning to crack. Because once one person spoke, others followed. Within weeks, more lawsuits. Then more. Each one uglier than the last. And believe me, that was only the beginning. But lawsuits are words. In May of 2024, the words became a picture. CNN published hotel surveillance footage from 2016. In it, Combs is seen chasing Ventura down a hallway, grabbing her, throwing her down, and kicking her. There was no spin for this one. No press release could explain it away. The man the cameras had always loved had finally been caught by one. He posted an apology video. "I was disgusted then, I'm disgusted now," he said. But a question was already spreading. If this is what a camera caught, what happened when the cameras were off? Rewind 2 months. March 2024. Homeland Security raids his homes in Los Angeles and Miami. And what they reportedly carried out reads like a fever dream. Narcotics. 3 AR-15 rifles, illegally modified. Stacks of electronics. And the detail the whole internet seized on: more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. It became a punchline overnight. But prosecutors weren't laughing. To them, those bottles were evidence of something they were about to give a name. And that's not all. September 2024. Sean Combs is arrested in Manhattan. The indictment is staggering. Racketeering conspiracy. Sex trafficking. And transportation to engage in prostitution. Prosecutors alleged that for years, Combs ran what they called freak-offs, elaborate, drug-fueled performances they claimed women were coerced into, sometimes for days. They alleged he used his entire empire, his employees, his money, his power, to make it happen, and to keep it quiet. He pleaded not guilty. But you won't believe what came out once the trial began. He was denied bail. The kingmaker went to a cell in Brooklyn to wait for trial. And what happened next, almost no one saw coming. The trial began in May 2025 and ran for 7 weeks. The prosecution called witness after witness. Former partners. Former employees. Hotel staff. Cassie Ventura testified while heavily pregnant. The testimony was harrowing. And then the defense did something almost unheard of in a case this size. They called no one. Not a single witness. Their bet was simple: that prosecutors had told a dark story, but hadn't proven the specific crimes they had charged. It was a gamble. And on July 2, 2025, the jury came back. Here's where most of the internet stopped paying attention and where the truth actually matters. The jury found Sean Combs not guilty of the most serious charges. Not guilty of racketeering conspiracy. Not guilty of sex trafficking. He was found guilty on 2 counts: transportation to engage in prostitution. Serious crimes, but a fraction of what he had faced. So was it justice? Or a powerful man's defense team outplaying the government? Depends entirely on who you ask. In October 2025, a judge sentenced him to 4 years and 2 months in prison, a $500,000 fine, and 5 years of supervision. Days later, reports emerged that he had asked the president for a pardon. From billionaire mogul to federal inmate, asking for a way out. But even that isn't the strangest part of this whole story. And this is where Red Room Tapes has to do what it always does: separate what's proven from what's invented. Because while the real case unfolded in a real courtroom, a second trial was happening online. And that one had no rules. Rumors of a secret island. Of lost files and hidden drives full of blackmail tapes. Of lists naming the most famous people on Earth. It spread like wildfire because it felt true. But notice, none of it was ever produced, verified, or charged. The seized devices were real. What people imagined was on them was not. Sound familiar? It's the Red Room all over again. A real darkness, wrapped in a much bigger story we tell ourselves, because the real story, as disturbing as it is, somehow still isn't enough. So what do we actually know? That one of the most powerful men in music was raided, arrested, tried, and convicted of less than he was accused of, and more than his fans will admit. That a single tape did what years of whispers couldn't. So here's the question I'll leave you with. When a powerful man finally falls, do we want the truth? Or do we want the version that's darker, bigger, and more satisfying than the truth could ever be? Be honest. Which one were you hoping for when you clicked? That's this tape. This is Red Room Tapes. The light's still on. And we'll keep looking.